The third eye. Hi, I'm Bill Santa Cruz of Assisted Elder Care Placements. This video presents in-house research regarding the third eye, a concept that seems to encourage such words as metaphysical, mysticism, and fairy tale. The validation for this examination, other than enjoyment, is that the third eye in theory involves the flip side of cognitive deficits, or more simply, abilities above what many might consider normal. Therefore, those involved with the research, if nothing else, were at least free of known cognitive deficits. Okay, what is the third eye? For the purposes at hand, the third eye is supposed to represent heightened, if not actual, sixth sense abilities. And this phenomenon supposedly either originates from the center of the forehead, from a gland located within the brain area, or from a triangle area that encompasses the forehead and the gland. In any event, these descriptions seem consistent with information that seemed to be lodged somewhere in the back of our minds. However, it quickly became apparent that not all participants were going to be able to achieve what was considered to be the first step towards the objective, and that was relaxation towards a state of meditation. However, for those who were able to enter into a meditative state, two noteworthy and somewhat related perceptions did occur and were also reproducible. And the reproducibility will be touched on shortly. That said, one of the perceptions involved a feeling that their body was floating, which was usually followed by a jerking action in response to a sudden feeling of falling. However, the second and more involved perception was that of out-of-body experience, or more elaborately, a feeling of being suspended above their laid-out body. And this would then be followed, with a seeming degree of accuracy, with a description of what was seen during the out-of-body hovering experience. Okay, so what actually occurred during these phenomenon perceptions? That is a good question. However, all that can be offered up in response involves an interpretation of the data produced during the episodes. Okay, to begin with, material from a previous video will need to be referenced, which described what seems to occur during episodes of déjà vu. And that is that the brain seems to prefer all things within its world to be neatly wrapped and orderly, and is therefore prone to jump the gun and fill in with information prematurely. Like when you see someone from a distance that you think you know, but you really don't. At times like this, the brain initially seems to make note of a similarity, then instantly, but incorrectly, fills in the rest of the picture with recalled information. Of course, this only leaves you scratching your head once the stranger gets closer. That said, the concept that the brain fills in with information in order to keep itself sane is the first piece of the puzzle. Now then, what compelling actions occur during these meditative episodes that prompt the brain towards the process of filling in with recalled information? To begin with, data indicating unexpected but measurable activity changes occurred within the brain during these episodes. And this activity is occurring in parts of the brain that might normally be expected to be at rest during meditation. So what does this mean? Well, let's ask another question. If the same brain activity now occurs during meditation that normally occurs during physical activity, how would the brain interpret and react to this? Not a clue. However, it seems conceivable that the brain, in wishing to keep its world orderly, may once again react by filling in with something that it can accept. In other words, in response, the brain, in its efforts to keep everything neat and orderly, is now filling in with manufactured puzzle pieces in order to explain away this new occurring activity. This explanation could plausibly account for the floating body experience, as well as the out-of-body hovering perception. But how does one explain the seemingly accurate description of what was seen during the out-of-body hovering action? Once again, not a clue. However, it does seem that the brain is well adept at filling in with, shall we say, recalled plausible information, which also leads to hallucinations as a dementia issue, but this will be covered in a later video. That said, additionally, as the brain seemingly makes note of everything the eyes see, whether or not it is all consciously acknowledged, the brain would have quite a reservoir of information, of which now includes information about the environment taken in just prior to the meditation experience, from which to draw from. As such, between the brain's wanting to have all things explainable and a reservoir of accurate information from which to draw from, it seems plausible that a reasonably accurate description involving what one might expect to observe during the out-of-body experience could easily be pieced together by the ever-resourceful human brain. Okay, earlier I mentioned that the reproducibility of the phenomenons would be touched on shortly. I guess now qualifies as shortly. Anytime something new is learned, it seems that the new cognitive pathway routes that were involved with the learning now not only become associated but flagged as well, enabling this learned information to forevermore be accessible. For example, take a seemingly ordinary drawing, but one that also contains a somewhat concealed image or message ingeniously hidden within the backdrop, such as the word love. Oftentimes oftentimes the hidden word is not noticed immediately and may also take some effort to find. But once the hidden image becomes noticed, the learning process involved will be tabbed for future reference, and therefore the image will now be noticed every time the picture is looked at. In any event, it seems that this same tabbing process occurred during the so-called extra perception episodes, and therefore will be reproducible every time the same meditative process is followed. Additional interesting perceptions did occur, but as the associated data is still being crunched, these additional perceptions will be provided down the road.